You got me, Jay?
I got you.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you.
Hey, welcome. It's Talking Truth to Power, Nevada, and the world's Freedom Talk Radio. Although I'm your host, award-winning writer Brendan Trainor. We have Leland Faegre, award-winning musician and playwright or screenwriter.
Yeah.
And we're here to bring you our the news about freedom and how it's being abused.
And if you're trying to find us visually today, you're not going to be able to do that. We have a technical matter to correct, so we're not simulcasting, but you can tune in .com and find us there audio-wise. So tunein.com, America Matters Media will allow you audio access to the show. Yep.
Alrighty. Well, the California recall is over, and Mr. Elite not only squeaked by, but he actually won by a large margin.
In the recall vote.
Yeah, in the recall vote. Yeah.
But Larry Elder took 47% of the candidate vote.
Oh, okay.
Which is a huge number.
Yeah.
So he's very popular. No wonder they threw everybody at him.
Right.
And then,
But he also energized the Democratic base.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's nobody there. I mean, here, I should say.
No,
they're there, but they're not here.
They're not there. Yeah,
he called it a victory for science.
Newsom?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people, and myself included, are wondering if we're heading into a scientific dictatorship of some kind,
yeah.
Right?
So does Ron Paul.
Right. It's
vaccination authoritarianism.
Uh-huh. And not only vaccination, but that can extend to everything else.
Oh, it can just go to everywhere under the universe, yeah.
Because there's only a few principles regarding freedom, which is of individual autonomy, property rights, so on. You once you start getting rid of them, what's left? Isn't it?
Yeah, if you lose control over your own body, you
yes.
lose control of your own destiny.
Right.
It's really frightening.
And of course, as a libertarian, I got to think of the war on drugs. I mean, that was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
If you, even if you're only going to hurt yourself, we can stop you from doing it. Even if you don't really hurt others, it's.
But in this case, if you're vaccinated, you can infect others.
Yes, you can. I mean, the logic.
Who knew?
The logic is even worse here. For this event, the mandate that Biden issued is, he's going to energize a lot of people against him for that.
Yeah. No, he's going to, it will have adverse effects even among his own, I think.
Right.
It would appear. So let's hope that that's the case, because it sure needs to have an adverse reaction. Political adverse reaction.
When he said things like, my patience is running thin.
Oh, yeah. Condescending like a grandfather to his niece and nephew, right?
Yes. And in Australia, they had people coming out and talking about, these are the rules for the New World Order.
Yeah, isn't that something? And I was struck by that because obviously we talk about the New World Order on the show here a lot. And I looked at her face as she said it, and I can only conclude that she's steeped in the trend, the cultural and civilized trend here, and she's speaking for her superiors.
Are you the baddies?
Yeah, we are the baddies.
At least the government is the baddies.
Yeah, exactly. And so what we are noticing here is how the Five Eyes, apparently, the freest of the economic superpowers, are accommodating the authoritarianism of other states like China and Russia. because they're already there. So now they're saying, hey, we can get there.
We can be as authoritarian as China.
Yeah.
In fact, they're worse. I mean, China's probably did a better job and preserved some more civil liberties than what we're seeing in Australia and New Zealand.
Because they're probably setting the standard now for the Western world.
Well, that's what Ferguson, the guy that's claimed that
Niall
millions,
Ferguson?
Yeah, millions would die. He said, when China locked down, we didn't think, that we would be able to do that. And then Italy decided to lock down. They were hard hit in the beginning,
Oh, they've locked down again since, haven't they?
I probably have,
I think, yeah.
I mean, there are demonstrations all over Europe again. France has been demonstrating now for 2 months.
Your papers, please.
I don't have anything new for you on that, and we'll circle back with you directly. I can circle back. I'll circle back with you.
Yeah, get back with us. Circle back, Basaki.
Le papier, s'il vous plaît.
You notice how I pronounce the P, the silent P in her last name?
Yeah.
I like doing that. I don't know why.
Yeah, the red-headed witch of the White House. All right, so
It really is, yeah.
I mean, why did
Peppermint Patty.
is this Biden's? It can't be just his personality. Remember when he said, "If you don't vote for me, you ain't black," and other thing. He yelled at people. He yells at reporters. Mm-hmm. Is it just his authoritarian personality that we've seen for the last 40 years, or is it something?
Well, it's a geriatric trait, I think, and one that probably, parallels his infirmity. I think that's also the case. But I always think he was there. Mm-hmm. I mean, he wasn't one of us.
No.
He was never one of us.
No.
So now he's just in some sort of transcendence to his, decline, to his final.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to work that the FDA approves the vaccine and the White House recommends it, and then Big Pharma produces it. But now Big Pharma lobbies the White House. The White House goes ahead and demands that they get it, and the FDA rubber stamps it. That's where we're at now. Mm-hmm. And there's just no way to get back the power that the government keeps ceding to these enormous bureaucracies.
And the trends in the COVID universe are, unending. They're going to come at us. They'll keep coming at us with something. We talked about MU last week.
Right.
So even though this one is leveled off in Nevada, it's one right after it.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsythe Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
Mustang salad now, baby.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host here, Leland Faegre. And we were talking about COVID and how they're going to, we haven't got there, but how are they going to implement this? They're going to implement this through OSHA.
Right.
Very few people I know are really fond of OSHA.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
businesses really love it.
Yes. But now, are they going to be able to take this on? And then, it's 50, if people are not going to get vaccinated, it's going to be $50 a week for every test and the employers are going to have to foot the bill, or the workers.
Yeah, it's logistically nightmarish, and it'll end up failing in any challenge in the courts.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a waste of time that we've
We
gone down
choose
this.
truth over facts.
But it doesn't bother them
No.
because it allows them to be the good guys as they perceive themselves.
The secular Puritans on the rampage.
Yeah.
The freedom-loving
That's
Jacksonians.
that's a nice way to describe them.
So, and we don't know virtually anything real that we can pin a tail on about this whole disease. I mean, everything they tell us has been contradicted. There's all kinds of controversies swirling around about the facts. Now,
In the music business, it's called an improvisation. They're winging it.
Yeah. But a new mega study of 100 veterans hospitals show 48% of the COVID hospitalizations are persons with little or no symptoms. So, in other words, they weren't really hospitalized for COVID. They were hospitalized for something else.
Likely something else. Yeah.
Right. So that's half of the hospitalizations. Throw them out.
Right.
And then you've got this whole thing about how are they counting this? You have
And who's counting?
and who's counting?
As they always say, who's counting the votes?
Yeah. The fact is that they are putting down died from COVID on the records and counting that statistically when the real thing is that they died with COVID. They had all these other symptoms,
Because
so they were 88 years old or whatever.
And the reason for that was it incentivized the money that would come in for these patients. And so, and a lot of people to this day, I mean, this has been going on now for a year and a half, they still don't understand that. You ask your average person, they won't know that.
No,
And they see the numbers, and they are quite striking. But 0.0003% of those who contract the disease are actually killed by the pathogen.
and that's
So
scary. And a
it
few
is.
of them are outliers, like the boxer De La Hoya. He got it. He was hospitalized.
Who would have expected? Yeah.
Yeah, and occasionally you sadly hear of a child dying. They're not supposed to die, but they do die. But they die from the flu as well.
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what.
Right. And if you ask Anthony Fauci about this, he'd say this. You can't see this because we're not simulcast today. We have no visual broadcast, but I just pointed to everybody. And that's what he's been doing, is pointing to everybody else.
Oh, sure. That's what they all do.
But he has been doing it for
Forever.
45 years. And this is a particularly stressful episode for civilization because we don't, have any leadership. And there was I just saw something on this the other day that if the CDC had offered legitimate counsel and honest advice about how to deal with this, because they haven't been, but we would all be better off in a variety of ways. Including those states that have locked down unnecessarily, like Michigan, for example. Did you see where the FBI has fired that one informant that was part of that deal? Yeah.
Okay, well, it's just like the COVID mandates because they're locking the barn door when the horses have already left.
Yeah, they're already out of there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, this except for maybe the Deep South, this is pretty much over, this Delta, as far as we could hope. Anyway, we don't know for sure.
Well, it's leveling off here in Nevada.
Right.
It reached 12.3%, I think, and now it's down to 10 or 11%. So it looks like it's going the way of the first COVID pathogen that came through here. So we'll see.
And you look at our brothers in Europe, and they're I know Vienna, little Vienna in Austria. I mean, that's such a classy little city. They're out on the streets. The French have been out for months now. Even in Israel, they've been protesting, and they're the most vaccinated country in the world.
Right.
But meanwhile, if you see pictures of what's going on in Sweden, everything is normal.
And Denmark, apparently, has followed Sweden,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are we the baddies?
Yeah, we are the baddies.
And, but they don't talk about Belarus, but I'm pretty sure it's the same in Belarus because, Belarus is lost to us now.
Right.
They're Poland and Lithuania putting up walls on the border with Belarus.
That's a mean old Belarus. Which is why we laugh at this stuff on our show here.
I know,
because how else can you deal with it? It's just so damn stupid.
Mm-hmm. The people, the progressives, that want to give the government even more power. I mean, haven't we learned from the abuse of power that the government has displayed?
Well, the quick answer is no, we haven't learned.
No. We never do seem to learn, do we?
History is doomed to repeat.
Yep. First time is tragedy, the second time is farce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why, we've made this case, or I've made this case on the show, that we're on the threshold of a new dark age, because I don't see how we extricate ourselves from this trend. Unless we get control of education again, it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So this may be a good time to segue to our discussion of who we're going to have on next week. If, with any luck, we'll have Bill Jasper from the John Birch Society up in Coeur d'Alene on the show, talking about the secessionist movement.
Oh, good.
And that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it many times here. As it's complicated. The concept isn't, but the logistics of it will be complicated unless we can figure out how we're going to do this pretty damn quickly, I think. It's going to, because speed is of the essence here.
Yeah. So he's up in Greater Idaho.
Yeah, he's been up there for a long time, many years.
Mm. Well, getting back to the issue at hand, the media is constantly caught in lies. For example, when they said that the intensive care hospital beds are at 95% or they're overflowing.
Right.
The fact is that the hospitals don't keep surplus beds in the IC ward. Yeah, so they're always at 95% capacity.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
And you see that they exploit that.
Yes.
That ignorance.
Yes.
This is what they do all the time. They burn the midnight oil day in, day out, 24/7, 365, and lie to us constantly. It's a constant lie.
The shortage of doctors, the hospitals are overwhelmed. That's because nurses won't take the vax and they're walking off.
They don't want to put up with this anymore. Yeah.
There's an entire maternity ward, I think, in Michigan.
I see that. Was it Michigan?
I don't know for sure.
Right. So they can't deliver there anymore.
No.
So take your baby somewhere else.
These medical workers are serious.
They never think about the consequences of how authoritarianism affects us.
Yeah, all the unintended consequences.
And they or they don't care.
Mm-hmm. So so they probably don't care, but they're wrecking the infrastructure of the healthcare system. It's just like everything that government does. It wrecks. It turns into crap.
Destroys it.
Yeah.
You know the thing.
I don't think there's any excuses.
No.
Or exceptions.
and they keep claiming that they're so competent, these Democrats. We know how government works. We can make it work.
That may work with their constituency, but it doesn't work with
everybody.
Real Americans.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Our listeners wouldn't buy into it.
No, our listeners would not. So, I mean...
I saw a couple of guys out in the parking lot coming into the studio today that might buy it.
Oh, they were fully masked?
They might buy into it.
Walking outdoors, fully masked. And politicians, they're all vaccinated and everything else, and they're all standing around with masks. They just pull the mask off to talk, and then they put the mask back on. It's
right.
And even outdoors, sometimes Biden has got a mask on. It's amazing.
This is CNN.
There's the problem. The propaganda media.
That,
by the way, this is not
former
CNN.
head of the Chinese American, former head of the, who said we don't have a right to travel.
Oh, I know. I did hear something about that.
As far as I know, it's a privilege to travel.
It's a privilege, yeah. It was a woman, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a woman.
And she was on MSNBC, I think.
CNN.
Was it CNN?
Yeah, that's what brought it back to mind.
This is CNN?
You do have a constitutional right to travel.
And don't you forget it.
Yeah.
So here's the choice. Some people say the USA is finished. It's evil, a has-been, full of hate and injustice. The U.S. Constitution should be trashed and the Bill of Rights abolished. No free speech, no gun ownership. Competition and free markets are bad. We're all too stupid. For our own good, the government must own everything and know all your secrets.
Other people say that America has created the freest, richest, happiest, most generous society that has ever existed in the world. That's why millions of people are desperate to come here and escape their brutal lives in Cuba, Venezuela, North Korea, and 100 other countries.
In America, we have the right to succeed, the right to our own living, the right to have a family, the right to believe in God, the right to have our own ideas, the right to be safe and secure, and the right to be left alone.
Where do you stand? Help us save the Constitution and restore the American dream. Go to SaveMyFreedom.com.
Brought to you by the American Media Council.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Powers. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. My co-host is Leland Faegre. And you know, a little while ago, a couple of months or a month or two, Bernie Sanders got up on the Senate floor and gave a speech. Senator Sanders said that 2021 was the hottest year on record. Uh-huh. And, you know, the big global warming conference is coming up in November. And so the thing is, Bernie, you're absolutely wrong. It's not the hottest year on record.
Yeah, he's always
the lion, dog, face, pony soldier.
When is he right?
I know. Well,
I did see that, and in fact, I think Ron Paul had commented on that as well. But.
Mm-hmm. The point is that these, one of the points, because there's so many things wrong with the alarmist view on global warming, but one of them was that thing you have to look out for is, like any study, you have to see where it originates, and most of the global warming studies originate in the 1950s. And that was when supposedly the automobile and everything else, power generation, everything after World War II in the 50s was when the timeline started growing. And then we started having climate change, as they like to refer to it. But the thing is...
You mean modern?
Modern. You're right, modern climate change. Mm-hmm. What they're confirming about, the hockey stick.
Right.
I mean, that was one of the things that was debunked, was a graph that showed climate as being absolutely flat, world temperatures, and then all of a sudden taken off like the blade of a hockey stick. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that has been debunked.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the U.S.
You see, the climate change is a subject matter that takes them to their new world order.
Yes.
It's an entangling subject. And all nations are involved in this, see? Especially the industrialized ones. Except China, of course. China's the
Shut up.
Yeah, right. So it's the perfect emotional subject that takes us to their new world order.
Exactly.
It's a perfect. Couldn't be any better.
No. Because climate, every day we have climate.
Everybody breathes. Yeah. Or tries to. Everybody wants clean water. You know, it's an emotional thing.
But as far as that 1950s timeline, getting back to that for a minute, before 1950, the United States has had much, much harder years than the hottest decade was the 1930s, when you had the Dust Bowl and you had all kinds of extreme weather in the 30s. But even if you go back to the turn of the century, 1901, 1911, this was all before the growth of CO2 due to mass industrialization. At the turn of the century, America was still about 90% rural.
And if you want to go back another 250 to 300 years, there was ice on the Thames.
Right. Yeah, the little ice age.
How did that happen?
I don't have anything new for you on that, and we'll circle back with you directly. I can circle back. I'll circle back with you.
Well, that's the whole solar minimum theory that a lot of people believe in, and we are experiencing a new solar minimum, so there's a good chance that the Earth is going to cool down even more than it is already. But, in 1911, there were no cars and no air conditioning, and tens of thousands of people and horses dropped dead from the heat in both the United States and Europe. Another thing we should keep in mind is there really is no such thing as global temperature. Even in this year, the western United States, where we are, was very hot, but many parts of the world were very cool.
Right.
Brazil had an early frost that destroyed crops. Eurasia, that was also colder than normal. And scientists want to study the upper atmosphere. Why? Because of the urban heat phenomenon. A lot of the temperatures, when we take the heat, are just altered. They're increased because of the fact that we have so many people in cities now, and a lot of the temperature stations are in cities. Not only that, but they did a survey several years ago, and they found out a lot of these temperatures were right up next to an exhaust, like an air conditioning exhaust or something, which was also increasing the temperature.
Right.
But anyway, the upper atmosphere has not warmed in at least 6 years. It's called the pause. And the global warming alarmists really have no explanation for it.
No, they just hope it'll go away.
Yeah.
And we will, too.
Antarctic sea ice is heavier than it has been in 30 years. And the landmass of Antarctica also has healthy ice levels. But they keep pointing to the sea ice and saying all those icebergs are going to melt and cause the oceans to rise by a foot or something. But it
doesn't happen.
No. The scientists think now that there's some kind of relationship to ocean currents that we don't know very much about. So again, the global warming is based on models.
So it's about the science.
Garbage in and garbage out, right? Whatever you put in the computer, if you don't know about something, then you can't put it in the computer.
And let's not forget that where the money goes,
yes,
oftentimes it distorts the outcome. So.
Right. Up in the Arctic, although Russia is talking about having a Northwest Passage near its enormous 800 miles or so coastline with the Arctic Ocean. But in fact, the Arctic sea ice is extensive and it's only slowly melting. Greenland also has a very healthy ice cap. And remember, there is more sea ice on Earth than there was in 1990 or 1995 when they started predicting big meltdowns. Both John Kerry and Al Gore predicted ice-free poles by 2014.
Yeah. Oops. Missed it by
that much.
These guys are such clowns. I mean, I can't even believe they get airtime. Who the hell would even give them airtime?
I mean, especially Kerry, when he took his jet to Martha's Vineyard to go to...
Yeah, for Barack's 60th birthday?
Yeah.
So that was confirmed? I thought that might have been...
I don't know, but if it wasn't to Barack's birthday, it was to something else.
Somewhere else, because he's always in it.
Yeah,
he's always going somewhere.
We choose truth over facts.
Yeah,
it's because he has such an important mission.
He's a very important person.
Yeah, if it wasn't for him, we would all burn up.
That's right.
So he gets all these privileges that we don't have.
Yeah. His carbon footprint is pretty big.
Yeah. So was Al Gore's. Remember that when they discovered his mansion was just eating up carbon or spewing carbon. So I know this whole. Once they get us used to being told when to get the jab, and being told, and not discerning the false information, the shoddy information that is being thrown at us every day by the mainstream media. Once we get past that, then we've got to deal with the climate issue that hopefully they won't be able to get anything done. They'll just play more lip service to it.
Well, it's getting ugly. I just see here on the Gateway Pundit that Roger Stone was served by the deep state while speaking on air with the Gateway Pundit's Joe Hoff this morning.
This morning?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Roger Stone, he knows where all the bodies are buried. So they don't want him talking.
Yeah.
So they'll put him out of the way somehow.
They didn't pull him out of the studio, did they?
Well, he was on air apparently when they served him. Yeah, so they knew he was on the air. Yeah, just like CNN got their tip that first time when he was hauled off. Circle back, Psaki says Biden has complete confidence in his man of honor, Milley. And guess what? There's more.
He's the perfect example of a postmodern woke general.
And Milley confirms Woodward's book reports on undermining President Trump with calls to China and meeting on nuclear launch orders.
Oh, Milley's
He's confirmed it. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Breaking.
That's, I don't know. I know CNN is going to, whitewash it, MSNBC. But a lot of even Vindeman was angry.
I saw that. Yeah, right.
Even Vindeman thought Milley went too far.
President Vindeman. I was really surprised to see that last night. I don't forget what I was watching. But
he's usurping the powers of the president.
Right. Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
This is really crazy. But so there you go. I know one person who's thrilled about it. Bob Woodward.
Oh, his book sales are going to go way up. Yeah.
Because now it has a legitimacy. See? So they must have conferred, talking about that midnight oil phenomenon, and they've been doing this now for a couple of years because they know time's running out. They got to pull this stuff off quickly. That's why all of this is coming out. They've got to distract from the current crisis to the next crisis, and you can't let a crisis go to waste.
No.
So that's what's up, and the American people can't possibly follow this. See?
Yeah, no, there's too much crap being thrown at you.
Do you know that Larry Elder couldn't even take Orange County? I see the vote here, percentage-wise. I mean, it wasn't all that lopsided, and I guess Orange County.
You mean the recall part of the vote?
Yeah. And the Orange County demographic has changed enormously over the last generation or so. Lots of, and I think about 1/4 of the vote in California was from foreign born. Did you know that? Amazing.
Yeah.
Foreign born.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now, back to the show.
Did you tell her? There you go. Are we going to talk about Bob Woodward in this? News in the news?
Well, he is one that has been in the news.
It couldn't get any bigger than that.
Yep.
Conspirator.
Yes.
Bob Woodward.
But first we have to give the ADL,
Oh, that's right, Jeff.
Yeah, we can't avoid that.
No.
We have to give that disclaimer.
They'd come in and cuff us, wouldn't they?
Yes. That's right. Well, first of all, we recognize that Israel is our greatest friend in the Middle East, and they don't throw gay people off the roofs, and they're the only democracy in the Middle East.
That's right.
And also we recognize that whenever we observe Jews behaving badly, we have to remember each and every time it's always our fault.
Always, yep.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Yeah.
Israel may be America's best friend in the Middle East, but before Israel, America had no enemies in the Middle East.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we've got a word of the day, sayanim.
We do?
Yes, sayanim, S-A-Y-A-N-I-M. And the definition is ordinary Jews who, when asked, take up the cause of Israel, even if it's against the laws of the countries they live in.
So just a knee-jerk response?
Well, it's like a worldwide militia. Think of it that way,
But it's automatic. I mean, there's a natural proclivity.
There's a natural, yes, there is, yeah. It's built into the culture.
Built into the culture, yeah.
Right. So, and what we were talking about, was during the controversy of 9/11, there's a lot of controversy surrounding 9/11. It's the event that really made millions of Americans finally learn to distrust their government.
We hardly know where to go on that one.
Yeah. But there was the case of what's called the dancing Israelis.
Right.
And a lot of people, what happened was on 9/11, a white van with the logo Urban Moving Systems was parked in Union City, New Jersey, right across the Hudson River from the World Trade Centers. Now, a single eyewitness, a woman named Maria, observed the three men in the van photographing themselves and the World Trade Center being attacked, and they were high-fiving and hugging and celebrating the incident.
Right.
Donald Trump may have mixed up the story and claimed that dozens of Arabs were celebrating.
He did reference it, though. Yeah. It's the opposite side of the river, right?
Right. Exactly. So the FBI thought enough about the story that they arrested the men, and they did find on their cameras that they were all laughing and happy during the event, the 9/11. It was only later that someone alleged they were dancing, and that description stuck. But now, the men were interrogated by the FBI, and they were eventually released and allowed to return to Israel, although they were sternly warned not to come back for 10 years.
The vice president gets a kick out of that.
Huh? Now, the FBI did a pretty thorough investigation. I know that a lot of people on 9/11 are not going to give up on the idea, and there may be still some basis to it, that they were Mossad agents, or they were filming the event for Mossad or something like that. But the FOIA, through FOIA, the FBI report came out.
That's the Freedom of Information.
Yeah. And the FBI says that they concluded through timestamp data on their cameras and through GPS and everything, that they actually arrived a few minutes after the first plane hit, so they could not appear to have foreknowledge of the event. And although, like I said, they were deported. But why were they so happy that the World Trade Center was on fire? Because Israel cannot come to a just agreement with the Palestinians. Many Israelis want the U.S. to see the world as they see it, Israel against the whole Arab-Muslim world. These Israelis desperately wanted the U.S. to feel their pain. At that time, Arafat was their boogeyman, and things were not going well for Israel before 9/11 was happening. The Palestinians were gaining support. The Arab countries were still against them. So their joy could very well have been because of the fact that they hoped the U.S. would join Israel in the cause. And we actually did. We did everything that they really could have wanted by attacking Saddam Hussein and getting totally involved in the Middle East.
Stupidest thing ever.
I know. And all the the Muslim hate that was in this country. It was really toxic against Muslims for quite a while. Not that I'm, enthused about Muslims. We have to be careful of Muslim culture becoming transcended in the West.
And Islam itself.
Islam, yes. But still, the owners of the movers were called Dominic Suter and his wife Ornit Levinson Suter. They may not have been Mossad agents, but they were scam artists. The Israeli moving business in the U.S. is oftentimes a scam.
So businesslike.
Yeah, they're business. Most of the workers are illegal, and because they deliberately recruit in Jewish newspapers for Jewish tourists who are here on a tourist visa and they're not allowed legally to work. The people that work for them complained that they were scammers. They often paid them below minimum wage. They neglected to pay them, and the suitors were confident they would not be reported because the workers were working illegally.
So they were under the table, basically.
Right.
Okay.
So it was all under the table.
Mm-hmm.
So the moving scam also featured inflated charges. They did not just rip off their workers, but they ripped off the public, moving empty boxes and charging for them, and charging really inflated, incidental costs to pad the bill and so on. And this same moving scam operated by Israelis has been investigated in Florida and other states, wherever there are Jews that, would be encouraged to work because they're on a tourist visa and they're running out of money. So the suitors, the FBI returned to the office and they found nobody was there. The suitors had fled to Israel, where, it's impossible to extradite anybody from Israel or conduct any kind of a real investigation is in Israel. But they came back after they realized that the FBI was not really looking to investigate their scam, but was more concerned about a connection to 9/11, and the coast was clear. They came back. Now, Ornit teaches Hebrew at the San Francisco office of the Israeli American Council, and Dominic works in tech sales, often in Jewish-owned companies. So they may or may not have been Mossad agents. You really can't tell for sure. But in fact, they're emblematic of something more common in tawdry even than 9/11.
But they don't leave calling cards around when they're up to no good.
Right.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Scamming the system is a well-known Israeli trait, and I say that. I know that people are going to be upset for me saying that, but the fact is that surveys show 30% of U.S. white-collar crime is committed by Jewish people. And 9/11 did work out very well for Israel. Iraq was taken out. It's safe to say the Israeli government now wants us to wage a war against Iran, and it's very possible that this administration will not be able to resist the pressure that comes from the vast Israeli lobby, to get us involved again. And
shame on you for questioning Biden's integrity.
Remember, Pat Buchanan called it ZOG. Remember?
What was that?
Zionist
acronym?
Zionist occupied government.
Oh, yeah.
He was not afraid to say that.
No, he was unafraid to say that.
Yeah. Of course, it probably cost him a few elections, but he was not afraid to say it. So I think there are rumors now that Israel is trying to align itself with China. It may be that they have sucked America dry for everything that it's worth.
They see the handwriting on the wall.
And China's the wealthiest country, so they want to get in on that action.
The world is their oyster. That's the facts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing more and more on the YouTube. I'm seeing more and more videos about the history of Jews in China and things of that nature. So.
Are you seeing that this weekend there's a rally in D.C. to support the insurrectionists?
Oh yes, okay.
We're not simulcast today, so our listeners can't see me putting up quotes. But anyway, Roger Stone says that it's a setup, just like the first one was. So stay away.
Right.
No MAGA people need apply.